Good evening, everyone. This is the Thursday, March 14th, 2019 Town of Monroe Planning Board Workshop meeting. I'd like to take a roll call vote, but if you would just start from the end and say your name, because we're trying to have Noreen avoid using her voice.
John Allegro here.
Jason Trowinski, present.
Lisa McQuaid here.
Jeff Manson here.
Bonnie Franson here. We have 5 members, so we have a quorum. The fire exits are there are 2 in front of me, 1 to the left, the main entrance, 1 over by the kitchen to the right, and then behind me there's another emergency exit behind the store. And with that, could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, the first item on the agenda is Kingsville Synagogue. David, you're here for this, correct? Yes, come on up. Good evening.
How's everyone this evening?
Wishing we were outside.
Oh, with this weather, absolutely.
Dave, put the microphone down.
Sure.
Would you like to give us an update?
Absolutely. So, since our last meeting and our technical meeting, we reflected the comments and the observations that were brought out at the technical meeting. To summarize, most of those are summarized on enlarged Plan 2 of SP1. It's in the lower left corner of the first plan. So that incorporated the extension of the proposed pavers in the new parking areas, confirming that we have a 24-foot wide access road, the relocation of the dumpster, and the dumpster details are on SP2, which reflected the comments and discussions we had at the technical meeting. We've confirmed since the parking was extended, we confirmed that a small retaining wall would be needed to hold that back. We show that again on the large plan of 2 SP1, and we detail that on SP2. Lighting was a concern. We addressed that with the landscape lighting and continued it around the parking area to address that. And the parking also, it was agreed that the striping would not be necessary, so the lines shown are for informational purposes only. On SP2, as I mentioned earlier, just to reiterate, we detailed the items that were required. So the permeable paver detail is included. The dumpster enclosure, which was asked to reflect the color and texture material of the house. So we show that with 3 block walls finished in a stucco or EIFS to be of the same color as the house. We show a retaining wall detail. It's not that great of a difference in elevation, but this will definitely support that. And we show the evergreen tree planting because we did keep the planting or screening as it's been consistent actually throughout the plans. So at this point, I believe we've addressed most of the comments. Maybe they need to go a little further, but we're looking to move this along.
So, Noreen, did we send this out for GML review? Remind me. Do you recall?
I think.
We have?
Let me see what my notes say.
I have a note that it went to the Village of South Blooming Grove and response was pending.
Right, and
I
I,
haven't heard from them, and I'm pretty sure it went off the top of my head.
I thought it went to Orange County Planning too, but maybe look.
But I haven't gotten a response from them.
Well, that's a.
I spoke to the village. They said Mike Weeks, they had given it to the village engineer to take a look. We're still waiting for some kind of comment memo. And they're specifically looking at anything related to their right-of-way,
Of course.
essentially. Does anyone recall seeing Orange County GML review for this application?
I'm looking for
I
the-
don't recall.
I think we
Getting one
sent
back.
it out.
I didn't get
No, I
one.
would have forwarded it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's pending, but that doesn't really hold us up, except for at such time that we want to hold or make a decision. Board members, did you have any questions or comments about what you reviewed? At this point? No?
Just two things regarding maintenance. You're using impermeable. That can be difficult to maintain, and if it's not properly maintained, you're just as good as regular pavement. So just make sure it's regularly maintained.
Absolutely.
And stucco, EFIS, prefer stucco. EFIS it's costly to maintain. You're gonna end up spending more on that than you would just going for the expensive stucco.
I agree, especially since 3 walls of the dumpster enclosure are block. There's no need to adhere rigid insulation to it and
Yeah.
apply an EFIS coating. So I would recommend,
Yeah,
Just
definitely push that one on the client.
okay. And I make reference to the EIFS texture and application because of the existing house. So the goal is to match the color of that.
Absolutely.
With regard to the various items that are to be relocated, it says trash enclosure, remove existing metal fence beyond property line, and remove existing chain link fence beyond property line. There's something showing a keypad. Is the keypad being removed too? I'm guessing that's a keypad on the fence.
Yes.
Or it doesn't look like it's on the fence. It almost looks like it's something out at the,
Like a station?
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely before, it's beyond the property line.
Okay, so that'll be relocated as well.
Yes, relocated, yes.
So just for whenever we get to the next set of plans, please add a note.
The final? Okay.
Yep.
Well, is that going to be removed or is it going to be relocated? Will the parking once again be closed off by a movable gate?
Yes.
And will either that or the fact that, I'm just looking at where the dumpster is kind of tucked into in the corner there. And wondering if that's going to be an issue for the removal company to get at the dumpster to angle the truck in. Is there enough space, I guess, for them to do that and get comfortably through the gate and into that?
Yeah, we, at the technical, yes, so we addressed that. Obviously, a security gate is an encumbrance, to get in. However, they're going to have to make arrangements to allow the truck to do so. They're not going to want to have the garbage pile up.
Yeah, I mean, I was just at, because I know it was outside the original dumpster location was outside of the gate, right?
Outside
Okay.
the property line, yes,
So that's
and outside the
nice.
gate, absolutely.
Mark or Mike, do you have any comments at this point for the application?
Yeah, I had sent over some draft comments. Comment 1, and I have a copy, Dave, for you as well. Comment 1 really just lists the items that are listed under 5713J, that just to remind the board the issues that are needed to be reviewed. Some adjustments that should be made before the plan is resubmitted, and I'm not sure if you've deemed that a special permit public hearing will be needed, but I think that these comments wouldn't prohibit you from scheduling it, just that Dave can make the updates. Bulk table needs some corrections, that's listed under comment 2. There are some corrections that need to be made to the sanitary disposal system information, that's listed under 3. You really need to decide if you're of the belief that the narrative that's been submitted is adequate. I know the last time it was discussed, it needed some more information from what I recall. We are waiting for the Village of South Blooming Grove. Just some notes from the discussion we started tonight. The plan doesn't say that there's going to be a new fence. It says fence to be removed. So if there's a fence proposed, it's got to be shown. depending on where you show it and where you show the gate, it may block access to some parking spaces. So if you are in fact proposing a fence, that's a whole nother ballgame than telling us you're removing it. So that should be
Right.
resolved in the next set of plans. If you continue to say removed and the keypad is removed, there's no issue. If you propose one, I can see that that's going to be another round of concern.
We'll want to see a detail of the fence. I think they have right now like a metal. I thought that was okay aesthetically, so I don't know if they're just going to reinstall something comparable. But regardless, we should have some kind of detail if it's being removed and replaced
Absolutely,
versus relocated.
sure.
If it's a longitudinal gate that will draw along the fence line, perhaps it can be long enough so that none of the parking spaces are obstructed. If it's not, in likelihood, the one hinge side is going to swing into the cars. So that's a problem. And as we're speaking about parking spaces, the plan, I noted under 2, the calculation shows 11 required, but 10 provided. So I think because of the jockeying around, we lost the space. So you should address that on the next plan.
So we'll need another space.
Yeah. But
Well,
they,
we agree, well, I mean, this reflects what we talked about at the technical meeting. We agreed that this would suffice.
well, if you say there's 11 needed and you depict 10, it doesn't matter what we talked about at the technical workshop, you lost one. So, again, simple issue, either you adjust the use of the building so 10 is adequate or provide the 11th space. I think you lost one when you put the dumpster enclosure in that location and provided the access to it.
So
Not a
It-
big
it
deal,
looks-
it's a matter of adding the space.
it looks like on their table, they're saying that they have for the residents 2 spaces per unit, but you're providing 4 spaces?
The parking, yes. The
So-
parking calculation really became amended and adjusted to try to include as many spaces
Right.
as we could. I mean, that was an evolution up to this point.
Right. I think it's in terms of what is the required from a zoning perspective.
Yeah,
So if this is a single-family house, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I think for a single-family house, you may only need 2 parking spaces.
which would now make it 8 required, 11, or 10 provided.
Right, and then under place of public assembly, it's saying 1 space per 3 fixed seats. You're saying you need 6 spaces because you have 18 seats, correct?
Correct.
So it looks like as far as required, you need 8 spaces, but you're providing, I guess, 10 spaces since 1 was lost.
So again, that's why I have the comment listed under the bulk table. It's just a matter of working it out, depending upon what you're proposing. The plan should be with a proper calculation, and you need to provide whatever the minimum required is.
So it looks like you meet it, it's just you need to
We
correct the
change it to
table.
10, yeah.
Yep.
Bonnie, I prepared a draft resolution. I just note, not that we're going to act on it, pages 3 to 6 outline the special permit criteria that need to be found satisfied by you before you can take action. Number 2, I went through my file. I do not see a referral form for the Orange County Planning Department, so I'll send one to Noreen tomorrow. And when we schedule it for the public hearing, we need to send a copy of the public hearing notice to the village clerk of the Village of South Blooming Grove at least 10 days before the hearing. It doesn't matter that we've been talking to DPW, the requirement is to get sent to the village clerk. It's the most unlikely of people, but that's where it has to be sent.
Mark, just jumping back, we were talking about the bulk table. Was there any additional comments about the SDS?
Under comment 3, lists a series of comments that
Okay, that they'll address.
Dave needs to just revise and get back in.
Okay. And then, David, look over your narrative, because in the end, I'd like the narrative information to be incorporated into the resolution as far as how it describes the project. So whatever narrative you submitted, if there's been any changes, just update it.
Okay, we are looking at the latest narrative that was submitted, right?
The 28th from December?
February 5th, 2019. Yeah,
There's a February 28th.
Yeah, actually, that was-
Right. So we have a 28th?
Well, no, that's the 28th is my cover letter.
Okay.
I'm talking about the narrative from.
Oh,
the
that's
owner.
attached to the back?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
dated February 5th. I'm not amending this
Okay,
at all. I mean, it came from the owner, the rabbi, and it's notarized and signed. So this is what he's stating.
all right.
No
and-
change to this.
And the reason is because this says it's showing a total of 11 spaces. So if you want, you can just maybe cross it out and have them initial if you want, something
Sure.
to that effect. Anything that's been updated, but if it's a lot of updating, then I would suggest we need a new narrative.
There wouldn't be any updating other than the 11 parking spaces.
Okay. So things like the peak attendance, all of this is going to end up being noted in the special permit.
Absolutely.
You could take secret action tonight and schedule a public hearing for a meeting down the road.
Can we do secret before we open the public hearing?
Sure, you should.
Yeah, let's not do it tonight, but let's do it right before we open the public hearing.
Okay.
Just to make sure we look at all the forms, the seeker, what's been done to date, make sure it's all up to date. We'll take a look at that. But I think we'll make sure that the GML is sent out, and I think board and consultants, do you think this can get on the agenda for a public hearing for next month? Yes? So
Yes.
we're going to do that then, okay? Yes, all right. So you'll have some cleanup items that you can submit before the public hearing so that you have a clean set of whatever's going to be presented to the public.
Absolutely.
And you'll be on the agenda, and hopefully we'll have GML review back, and we will do any seeker review, the negative declaration before we open the public hearing. Is that how we normally handle it here before, or can it be done during the public hearing?
I think the way the law reads, the declaration of significance should be issued before the hearing begins.
Okay, so we'll do that before we open the public hearing.
Sure.
Any other comments, board? No? No? All right, thank you. That's gonna be our date? I will do it on the regular meeting, 4/16. So the public hearing will be on April 16th. And what's the in-by date? Do we have that? 3/28? It'll be March 28th for submitting any revised plan.
And when's the public hearing?
You said the 16th? April 16th.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. So just for Noreen and for Mike, we have to send to Orange County if it hasn't happened. We have to publish notice. And then, do we have a draft seeker resolution? Was that also put together, or?
No, we don't usually, but we could change it, unless it's a type 1 action, a separate document, we just note in the resolution of approval that a negative declaration was issued.
Okay, I think that's reasonable for this special use
For
permit.
for
Yeah, that's fine.
low-scale projects.
So special use permit, hearing, and then we'll do the neg deck before the hearing. Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you.
I think I'm
Are you,
next.
are you next? Let's see the agenda.
Or
So
am I?
you're here for Karina Gomez?
Yes.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is Karina Gomez, and this, I believe, is for accessory apartment?
Yes.
Okay. So you were in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, so we were before the Zoning Board of Appeals, we were granted the variances that were requested, which was in favor of the project, and now we were able to be referred back to the planning board. The plans you have in front of you really have not changed since we were last before the planning board, because it was just what was exactly before the planning board, we used and presented to the zoning board.
Okay.
So now that they've approved the variances, we would like to continue and come to a conclusion with with this application here before the planning board.
So I'm particularly interested, were there any conditions that were attached to the variance?
Yes, I don't have a copy of the rendered decision, yet what was discussed at the zoning board was a concern of trees on the site. Perhaps we show, to satisfy the code, we show an area of 20 by 20 by the existing shed to house 2 cars. There are a lot of trees by that existing shed. So the thought before the zoning board was to relocate that area further down the driveway or further east on the driveway, away from the shed and away from the tree area, so that we could salvage those trees and have to cut them down. I thought it was a great idea. I have pictures here that show the cluster of trees that we would be saving by doing so. But yet, the zoning board did recognize and acknowledge that it is a planning board review, and it would be your decision. So I believe the zoning board just made that as a recommendation. It's not a recommendation that we disagree with. I mean, it would be in the best interest of the neighborhood and the house, but we present that before the board. In addition to that, to reduce the amount of pervious pavement on the site, they had, impervious pavement on the site or impervious surface, they recommended permeable pavers or a permeable surface for that 20 by 20 area to house the 2 cars. Again, it was a recommendation, and the zoning board referred it back to the planning board for review, and I believe rightfully so.
So this isn't a signed version, but we
Yeah,
have.
the board just got it.
Right, so we have a draft that says the additional approximately 20 by 20 parking area shall be moved to the east, closer to the road, from where it's shown on the site plan last revised on December 26, 2018, by between 15 and 20 feet, with the final location to be determined by the planning board, provided that the new location shall not encroach upon the front yard setback. I'm guessing when they say front yard setback that they mean the required front yard, not the front yard in its totality. But I think we should get that clarified. Do you recall? In other words, they don't.
That's the first I've heard about the use of a front yard setback, because the setback requirements are for the building envelope. It's not usually for drives or parking areas or landscaped areas or things like that. So it may have been said, I do not recall that comment at the zoning board meeting, allowing it to be only within the front yard setback.
And then it says the said additional approximate 20 by 20 parking area shall be constructed using permeable pavement or other some form of pervious material. So it says that the final location to be determined by the planning board, but then it says provided that the new location shall not encroach upon the front yard setback. So it sounds like, again, it could either be required front yard setback, that's what I'm guessing, not front yard, otherwise I don't think they'd use the word setback. But I think we should get clarification of that. So they're looking to have the parking area outside and within the building envelope, outside of and within it. And are we showing that now?
Well, actually, no, the front of the house is 51 feet from the property line, and the front yard setback is 50 feet. So we don't make it at all, but we don't make it. The driveway doesn't make the front yard setback. The driveway has to come in off of Country Court. So I'm uncomfortable with that, requirement. It's almost unenforceable.
Well, let me suggest this. Do we have a meeting next week? Tuesday? Okay. So I don't know that any board members have had an opportunity to look at the dwelling and look at the parking to be able to see, since we have to make a determination where it should end up. So I would suggest that we kind of table this for now. Except for any other comments that Mike or Mark may have or the planning board members, but let's put this on Tuesday. So that'll give us an opportunity to go out into the field, because we just received this, and see what is transpiring with the location for where these spaces have to be. And then with accessory apartments, I don't believe we have public hearing requirements, and there was a public hearing already for the variance, so I don't think one's needed. And is there a resolution? Was one prepared, or we still need to prepare that?
I have a draft. I didn't bring it with me.
Okay.
But I'll deliver it to you all before Tuesday.
Okay. So in the event we might be able to entertain this on Tuesday, it could be that we'll condition the decision on showing a map that relocates the spaces where it needs to be. And it'll give Mark a little bit of opportunity to refresh his memory like the rest of us.
By Tuesday.
Not by Tuesday, okay. Oh, that's right, you're not going to be here. All right.
If you need me to reach out to
I'll try to go over it with Sean tomorrow, because really the only outstanding issue from back, the last discussion I have on my notes was December 13th, was finalizing review of the sanitary system. That, and you went for the ZBA for the variances, so
Okay.
I'll try to talk to Sean, see if we can at least get that resolved for Tuesday, so you'll have an answer on that.
Okay. So that's what we're going to do. So Mike will put together or recirculate a draft resolution. We have to make sure we didn't send this up to Orange County, or that we don't have a GML that we have to address.
I think we have a report local.
All right, a local determination. So we're okay with that. Board members, any additional comments or questions with regard to the application?
Yeah, I just want to clarify something if we're going to try and go and take a look at it this weekend. So if I remember this project, county court wraps around the front and one side of the house. The driveway is on the opposite side from where Lakeview County Court intersects with Harriman Heights?
Correct.
Okay,
Let me
so
bring it up.
there was, so county court runs around the side in front of the house. But we were talking about the definition of what's a front yard too, on a lot like that. Because that's gonna make a difference in where we're the front yard setback. But the driveway's on the opposite side from where county court intersects with Harriman Heights, is that correct?
You know, I have you brought me down the road on another thought. Could you repeat that question? I'll answer that, and then I want to get back to the others. So what was your...
So as I
let's go.
remember, Harriman Heights runs behind the house.
Correct.
County court wraps around one side
Okay.
And the
and
front.
the front of the house.
Correct.
And then the driveway's on the
It's
far
not coming up
side of
either.
that.
Correct.
Okay.
All the way to the east.
Because I know we were talking at one point about where's the front yard that we're considering for the setback? On county court in front of the house, or is it on county court beside the house?
Okay.
Because it's surrounded by roads on three sides.
Okay, that's the point that led me down a different road. That's been resolved. It has two front yards.
Right, that's what,
Okay.
on the side and on the front?
On Country Court and on Harriman Heights Road.
Oh, okay.
So both of those are front yards, and that was a determination by the building department.
And Harriman Heights is behind, would be
the
behind what you would consider the rear of the house.
Correct.
So, because with this stricture then, so basically it couldn't be pushed forward or back along it almost, and the trees are just past the driveway?
The trees are on the south side of the driveway. As you would face the house, they're on the left side of the driveway.
I'm going to try and pull it up right now so we can
Actually,
look at
it's like
this.
this. If you were standing
Yeah.
on Country Court,
Looking
that's
at the house,
that's
the
the
trees.
driveway, yes. The trees are along the left side of the driveway. The shed is in the back.
So would this area, this 20 by 20, be able to be put at the
Why
far
can't I
end of the
find it?
driveway? Would that push into what is considered front line setback from the Harriman Heights side?
Well, it's almost a non-starter. The house from the one front yard is 51 feet away, and from the other front yard, it's 51 feet away.
Okay.
So it's, it's a discussion that's probably non-productive at this point, because I don't even believe parking can be restricted to the setbacks. I mean, you're allowed to park outside the setbacks of a property. I mean, how else can you have a driveway? That means every time you have a driveway, do you need a variance to go through the setbacks? I find that circular.
So there's
and
the,
different, yeah.
You know, while, I mean, ultimately, we can only address what the variance is. If the variance has that condition,
I think it's a recommendation, not a condition, right?
Recommendation.
I would, if maybe we, who's the attorney for the,
David, he wasn't at the meeting the other night.
okay.
But
And-
we'll reach
Steve
out to
Hannon.
him.
And the only reason I'd like, perhaps Mike or I'll follow up, is because they say with the final location to be determined by the planning board, but then they say, provided that the new location shall not encroach upon the front yard setback. So it's almost, the way that it's written is, you can make the final determination, but when you do, you can't put it in the front yard setback. So,
I have the minutes as stating just as those two.
right. So those are the minutes, but here's the resolution. And the resolution hasn't been signed, so we don't know whether or not ultimately the chairperson, when he reviews this, or when the board may have amended this, I don't know. So we have to get resolution with regard to this.
I won't be able to call till Monday.
Did the ZBA understand that there are 2 front yards on this property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So essentially, what they seem to be saying is they don't want the parking to be within whatever the 50-yard setback is. So they want to push it back, but yet the trees are there. And they didn't want it in the trees?
Correct.
They wanted to move it east to get it out of the tree, taking down trees,
To the east.
10 to 15 feet to the east.
Let me see if there's a
Which
property
would be
card.
to this side of the as you're facing the house, to the right side.
Property card.
In front of the front door.
No, just sliding down, on the same side of the driveway, but sliding down towards Country Court.
I don't know if this really helps. Oh, there we go. So they're saying move it east. Where do you have it proposed right now?
Right in front, on the south side of the shed.
South side of the shed. The shed's on the left-hand side?
Correct,
Okay. So that would have been in the treed area.
correct,
And they said move it east.
correct. Which would means sliding it closer to Country Court than it is now.
Or could it be pushed back? Or are we getting into our 50-foot setback on Harriman Heights Road?
No, it could be pushed back. I mean, the shed is there already.
So back this way. But because east, this is north-south, so east is going in this direction.
Correct.
Let me see here something.
No, that's correct. The way you're moving the cursor is in the eastward direction.
All right, pushing it though toward the street, although they don't want it in the front yard, at least in this draft. So and this isn't, I'm sure, very accurate as far as where that right-of-way is being shown, but if I go measure 50 feet, essentially the house is at the 50-foot setback.
Exactly where we show it on our plans. Corner of the house is 51 feet from the property line.
So I think, again, between now and Tuesday, we'll talk to the ZBA chairperson. We'll see if they were open to, just in general, allowing the planning board to make the determination. Although I don't know that you have that much more space going this way from here. Because if this is a front yard setback, they may have meant Country Court, but this is also a front yard setback.
And you have the sanitary system on that,
Is it over back there?
on the
Along Harriman.
southwest side of the building is a sanitary system.
Yeah, so you can't put it within 50 feet if they mean front yard setback. Maybe you could fit it in somewhere in here. And where, Mark, the southwest, so over by the shed in here?
It runs along the Harriman Heights side of the residence on the south side, as it may be.
On the south side.
It's on the, I don't know if anybody has the plans, but there's
I have I don't know if you can see it up here.
No, I'm saying they're submitted plan.
Move your cursor up, no,
Oh.
down,
Here?
down a little more. That's where the SDS system.
So it's in
is,
here?
right there. No, further down, right there,
Right in there.
right there.
So if we wanted to put it behind the front yard, because it's like right in here is where you could put a parking area.
And you've got an existing chain link fence that would have to be moved closer to the sanitary system, which is probably not a great idea.
Yeah, because it sounds like the sanitary somewhere in here.
It is.
And-
A little further.
And if you go, well, I don't think we're going to solve this tonight.
No.
So-
I,
So now we know we have to keep it off of the sanitary
If
system.
you, if you avoid the sanitary system and you avoid that tree line, there's not much left but front yard. Unfortunately.
So
I mean,
we'll talk to the
we
ZBA.
need to revisit this, yeah.
Yeah, we
absolutely.
need to talk to them. And then in the meantime, board members, if you just want to swing by, take a look at how much room there is, see where maybe we could fit some parking. And we may have to revisit this condition, or we'll find out they actually wanted to provide flexibility and we'll have to figure out a place to put them. I understand what they probably wanted, which was not to have the parking right up, along the edge of the road for aesthetics. But there's some limitations as to where to put this without
Absolutely.
taking down some trees.
Without
So
question, yeah.
we'll take a look. Anything else?
So we're on?
We're gonna be on, so we're gonna put you on Tuesday's agenda.
Fortuitously, I'll be here also, so that'll be, so that's great. All right.
No other comments? I think that's it for this agenda item. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
What's our next on agenda? So that's I don't know where my agenda keeps going. All right, next item on the agenda is Mikvah Israel. I'll do this to myself. No,
I have everything. You probably won't touch on.
This. Look at that, it's gone. Good evening.
Good evening, Isaac Walter.
Good evening, Tom Cusack, WSP.
All right, so tell us what has transpired since you were last before the board.
Okay, we can bring attention to responding to, I think the only outstanding item is responding to Mark's review comments. And the date on that would be March 14th. The first two comments, there is no response needed. There are no comments on his end. Number three, an approval box with the planning board application number has been added and submitted. Yeah, we have a copy here or copies that have that included. The fourth is, as indicated on the Orange County DOH approved plans, the water supply to the mikveh will be treated. And that is shown on the plans that were submitted and approved by Orange County, which we have copies tonight. Number five, the pumping equipment for the Glenwood School and mikveh draw water from the same atmospheric storage tank, and no priority has been given to Glenwood School or the mikveh. And there is no solenoid shutoff controls. That was in a prior submission. However, the new plans that were, again, submitted to Orange County for approval that do not include the solenoid shutoff controls. They basically share the same atmospheric tank. Number 6. A service agreement between Glenwood School and MICFA has been revised, and it's an easement, and I think Mike has a copy of that.
I've seen it, it's satisfactory, it'll need to be recorded.
Okay. Kirk Rother, the consulting engineer, will provide as-built drawings on the water and sewer. He was actually out there when the construction was happening and has good controls, and is preparing the as-built as requested for submission. An approval application for a street opening of the driveway entrance permit, which it has been prepared. And what's the status on that?
We have a license done from Brian Nugent, subject that if the planning board approves it, and then the Orange County, then I shall go to the board for it. I send it for.
I believe they will, but Brian will control.
I send it for Mark Etzel and Donnelly and
Okay.
Hill.
So, Mike, you have a copy of that agreement that Brian Nugent
License.
sent? License
I don't
agreement?
believe so, no.
I emailed it yesterday.
I'll look at my email once.
Oh, yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay.
In any event, that could be a condition, and it is a
Yeah.
condition to the draft resolution that he has to sign off, so whether I have it now or not isn't crucial. Let me look.
Okay. But I'd like you to review it as well.
Yeah, it would
So
just be
your
his sign
your
off.
sign off as well. Okay.
The Orange County has approved plans and specifications for the connection of the Glenwood School to the MICFA, and a letter, their letter of approval has been provided. Kirk Roth will provide the testing of the pressure disinfection. Kirk, I spoke to Kirk, Mark, he has a copy of the bacteria whenever he'll be generating and providing that report to you next week. Item 7 and 8 need no, are just comments, do not need response.
Is there any difference between the plans that were signed by the county and the plans that are unsigned that were delivered, or are they exactly the same?
It's exactly the same. I just delivered. You told me to bring you what they said, what they stamped, so I delivered.
Which has the box for the planning board. And I have additional copies. Mark, do you need a copy?
I'll get them from Noreen.
Okay.
She'll stamp them all in and then share one with me.
It was missing the project number, as Mark assigned in the comments, and this has it.
These have the project number.
The ones that were just
The-
submitted?
No,
No?
this one.
Oh, that set there.
I have, yeah.
Okay.
5 sets.
Okay. We'll have to ask Noreen when she's available how many sets we need.
Okay.
Um,
I'll pull them out now.
So,
I do have Brian Nugent's email. It's to Isaac. It says, as discussed, attached is a draft of the license agreement. As further discussed, it is our understanding that certain approvals, including approval by the Orange County Department of Health, are required before this license agreement can be finalized by the town or become effective. I've included language in the draft to reflect that requirement, as well as the requirement that any required approvals are received before the agreement can become effective. So that's certainly adequate. I mean, it's his, Brian has now corrected the agreement, just has to be done after everything's in place.
okay. Mark, are there any outstanding issues, or can whatever issues exist,
No,
can they be
the,
made conditions?
The good news is, whatever isn't done is really a matter of submittals, I believe, write-offs from the town board or submittals to the code enforcement officer. As far as I'm concerned, the as-built and the test information are two items that could be deferred as part of the approval resolution, that they must be submitted to Ben Maldonado before a CO is requested. So that's not an issue for me. I think they've got that under control. From Brian Nugent's email, it appears that once these issues were accomplished, he was going to finalize the license agreement. So that seems to be resolved as far as we need to resolve it. Everything else they took care of, and I appreciate Tom responding to those couple items, because they were the heart of the change between the system as originally proposed, which was of concern, and the system they ultimately got approved.
Okay. Board members, do you have any questions or comments with regard to what's been submitted? No? With that, I believe we have 2 resolutions in front of us.
The Glenwood, which is pretty much identical, but you want to look at this one first?
Yeah, let's look at both of them. So whichever ones, Mike, you want to run through first?
Yeah, the Mikva one, which I think is the controlling one. What's important are the conditions starting on page 5. First, as Mark noted in his memo, we want to make sure that the new plans are only new as to the water, that we still are reapproving the old plans by Atzel, Nasher, and Ziegler. Number 2 is that all conditions attached to the original and first amended site plan approval letter remain in effect. Third, we'll need a sign-off letter from Mark on the comments in his memo of March 14th. Most of them are satisfied, but he'll need to sign off one last time anyway. 4, a water sharing and water line easement agreement satisfactory to the planning board attorney, etc., must be submitted. I have reviewed it. I'll leave the condition in here because it also requires that it be recorded. I'll send a letter of instructions to Isaac, and he'll have to present us with proof of that recording. We noted, as we had in the past, that the applicant has reported on the possibility of a future connection to the village of Kiryas Joel municipal water system. Should that connection be made, the connection shall be to the potable water system only, and all approved cross-connection restrictions shall remain in force. Next is the letter from Brian Nugent that we've seen, but we will leave this because that has to be recorded. 7, I've changed based upon Mark's memo to say that the proposed water service line from the Glenwood School property has been approved by the Health Department. And then I'll note that test information must be provided to the code enforcement officer before a certificate of occupancy is issued. We had always required an inspection fee for the review and construction of the facility. I suppose we still need that to see these new facilities. The narrative is condition number 9. 10 is the school shall be limited to nursery, preschool, and kindergarten grades only, and students in attendance must be between the ages of 3 and 6. Traffic movements at the northeast curb cut to Forest Avenue shall be limited to right turn only. The approval is not intended to constitute approval on the signs that are subject to approval by the building inspector. 13 will tie into the variance that was granted some time ago. 14 is the highway superintendent's sign-off. 15 is our standard condition that says we base this approval on the drainage studies presented and nothing else may be built without a renewed or amended approval. There will be performance guarantees because there are some improvements that have to be made to the town-owned property. That's what the license agreement is for. And I believe there was an offer of dedication as part of the original approval. That may have been accomplished, but we'll leave it as a condition to make sure, if it has not been, that Brian sees to doing it. And 18 is a standard condition that says the applicant may not build anything that is not shown on the approved site plan.
Can we add, you have fixtures, can we also add lighting fixtures
Sure.
to 18?
Yep.
Just want to go through so this is the resolution of site plan approval as amended. So this embodies the entirety of the original?
I listed almost all of the conditions, but the
Okay.
second condition says that all prior conditions are automatically incorporated. But most of them were so important that I repeated them verbatim.
And I believe I asked you this before, but does this in effect then extend any approval?
This is a new approval, and the clock starts to run again, and that's in the general conditions at the end.
Okay.
Glenwood, the only change to the Glenwood is the addition of number 3, condition number 3 on page 4 of that draft resolution. I did insert the Mark's comment memo of March 14th in condition number 2. And condition number 4 will note that the health department has approved. And that language we had from the other one.
And under plans, are we going to add, because I see you have a comment list for vision date, are we going to make reference to the various sheets that were submitted?
Yeah, I'll
So we'll add
include them
that.
all. I always check them before I send it out, but yes. Because I think the new, is the water line shown on an amended Glenwood plan, or is it just shown on the Mikva plan?
Just on the Mikva plan,
All
but we
right,
can
so
add it
we'll include those sheets here then.
Actually, the plans submitted show both the mikvah site and the school site, so
I'll just
they
recite the
could
same
be,
plan set then.
they could be referenced in both.
Was the original action also an unlisted action?
Well, yes, I'm sure it was always unlisted, yeah.
Okay. I know this one is, this may actually, I don't even know if this one may even be an exempt action, but I just want to make
Under the new type 2,
sure.
it's possible, but since it started this way, we should leave it that way.
Okay. So in approving this resolution, we're going to reaffirm the negative declaration.
Correct.
Did we reaffirm the neg deck on January 10th, or we're updating that on page 4?
Let me look at my notes. I have them here somewhere.
We may have taken
I suppose we should
action.
do it tonight. I don't see it in my notes. Do we have?
Should we do that as a separate
I think you can roll
resolution?
it into it, because we're really just reaffirming it. There's no,
Okay.
what do I have?
So I think we'll say a negative declaration was
You know,
issued on.
maybe I don't know, Noreen, do you have that in your notes at all? I do, I have it listed here.
Yes.
If not, let's do it again.
I think we were going to try, and we could have taken action possibly.
Why don't I cross that out and let's do it tonight if it's not enough.
Yeah, it's probably safest. So 3/14/19, and reaffirmed on.
Yep.
We're just reaffirming the determination of the negative declaration that there was no significant adverse impact, which was already determined previously.
Yep.
And anybody have any comments or suggested revisions to the resolution? No?
Nope, I'm satisfied.
Okay. So with that, I will make a motion to approve the resolution of approval for the site plan for Miriam Goldberger Mikvah Yisrael as amended this evening. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
And why don't you just say your ayes or nays, so Noreen doesn't have to call out the names.
Legro, aye.
Jason Troinski, aye.
Lisa McQuaid, aye.
Jeff Manson, aye.
James McKnight, aye.
And Bonnie Franson, aye.
Anthony Vaccaro, aye.
So the motion passes 7-0. I believe that's it. Do you have any other,
Or the Glenwood one, or was that
Oh, we still have to
motion
do Glen-
both?
let's do a separate for Glenwood. I think in Glenwood, again, we'll add the plan set,
Yep.
and we will update that reference. Well, so I guess we'll also have to update the negative declaration as well here?
I assume we should reaffirm it as well. yeah.
Okay. 314. And are these different conditions? Because it's a different
Yeah, yes, they are, but I'm just adding the requirement of noting the health department approval and the requirement of delivering those inspection test results and the requirement of a maintenance agreement being recorded.
Okay. To outdoor fixtures and amenities, if we can
I'll
call.
add lighting as well.
Yep, and then what was 5? What was taken out in
I
5?
just had a blank line in case something was added. so.
Okay. So we can just remove that.
Yep.
The general conditions, does that reflect, I didn't think to ask that about the previous resolution. It talks about getting the Mylars within 180 days of the date of approval. Is that reflecting the new regulations? Or you think that's the old regulations?
You know, the MICVA one, I put the old language in, but I'll add it to this as well. I didn't do it here.
Okay, so we'll have the new, whatever the new requirements are?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll make that amendment to the other resolution if it wasn't
It was,
incorporated.
yeah, I think I put it in that one.
Okay. All right. Any comments on this second resolution? No? All right, I will make a motion to approve the resolution of approval for the site plan, third amended resolution for Glenwood Partners LLC, Glenwood School, as amended this evening. May I have your votes, please? Starting with John.
John Allegro, aye.
You need a second?
Oh.
Oh, sorry, second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jason.
John Allegro, aye.
Oh, Jason Chouinski, aye.
Lisa McQuaid, aye.
Aye.
James McKnight, aye.
Bonnie France and I.
Anthony Vaccaro, aye.
Thank you. So the motion passes 7-0. And that's it for the evening, I believe.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need to be back next week, Tuesday?
Do you want to come back?
Mark, the test information.
Are you going to reroute your water main?
We need to submit to Ben or to your office?
To Ben.
And the as-built?
Ben.
Thank you, good night.
Have a good night. That was the last item for the agenda?
I did send you an email, and obviously you're not going to deal with it tonight, but I know most of you are not real familiar with the project, but Bald Hill had a number of resolution requirements. One of them in particular was you needed to review the proposed HOA bylaws to make sure they carried forth certain conditions, and I've given you a draft of those. In addition, there's to be a restrictive covenant. That I do not yet have for you, but I thought if you want to add at least the bylaws to next week's meeting, I sent out an email today and a letter a little bit earlier, but that's something you need to review. Primarily, the issue that the town board will have to address is whatever the mechanism is to ensure that the senior age-restricted units are enforceable. But that's really their call more than yours. But there were 2 or 3 conditions, they're kind of highlighted in that document, that were required to be incorporated in the HOA bylaws. I believe they are, but it's your call.
Okay.
So you may want to look at those next week.
All right, so we will add that to the agenda then.
Mike also sent this out.
Scott Street, is that Hillside and Scott? No,
Mhm.
yeah, Hillside and Scott.
But they weren't on the agenda till next month.
Till next month. I think we'll wait then, if they're not on the agenda till next month.
They do need a public hearing, unless you wanted to schedule that, but,
And
Hillside and Scott?
yeah, it's a subdivision, then it's lapsed, so it's a new approval.
we have to reaffirm negative declaration?
You'd have to reaffirm it, yeah.
All right, so let's, next month at the regular meeting, we'll do the negative declaration before we open the public hearing. We'll do them at the
So
same time.
you want to resolve to schedule the public hearing tonight, or you'll do that next Tuesday?
I think we can,
I think it's in good shape.
we might as well
It's
schedule
a
it this evening.
reapproval effectively, and
You
it
can,
really,
you
Yeah.
can set it now, there's no reason
Yeah.
why you couldn't.
Yeah, so we're going to schedule, if the board is in agreement, public hearing for the Hillside and Scott subdivision, which had already been approved, but they got stuck in the changeover to the new zoning and they weren't grandfathered, so. So yes, we will, should we make a motion to hold the public hearing?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we hold a public hearing for the Hillside and Scott subdivision at our next regular planning board meeting in April, which I believe is April 16th. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Anthony, would All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. So we will hold the public hearing, April 16th. Any other items we need to address for this evening? You all should have received with your packets some information on land use training classes that are being offered. I think this is by Orange County Municipal Planning Federation. Also, if you go to the Rockland County site, there's some being offered soon by Rockland County Municipal Planning Federation as well. So if you need,
Westchester as well.
and Westchester. So if you need your training hours, make sure to try and get to those so you can meet the 4 hours. John?
Has a question on it.
Yeah, so I work in New York City with a bunch of land use attorneys, and the firm that I work for is hosting or sponsoring a CLE event. And my question was more for, I guess really anyone who knows the answer. Do CLE credits, do they transfer over somehow, some way to education credits?
The town board determines what
Yeah.
qualifies for your credits. I can't imagine that they wouldn't, but you need to ask them.
That was
If you
the-
get a certificate from the class and you give it to Noreen to bring to the board, they can approve it and you can get the credit. I did this before for a few of the credits last
All right.
year, so.
All right. They'll look at it to see if it's planning related, and if it is, then
All
they'll
right,
approve
New
it.
York City land use, that's where I work.
Anything anybody want to bring up?
Is there any updates on the employee training, the annual training required? Was it for violence in the workplace, or?
What night is that?
Does that also count?
April 9th is the nighttime one.
Okay.
Does that count for education credits too?
I don't believe so.
I thought
I don't think
maybe
that's-
if there's an update.
I don't know that that's
Oh, they
land
tried.
use related.
April.
All right.
Jen sent it.
Thank you.
Any other-
RFP to replace Mike, not that I'm trying to push you out the door or anything, that is something we do need to bring up.
That's a fact.
The RP.
Yeah,
So I have a draft that actually Mike provided me with, a sample that I'm going to
Okay.
take a look at. We were also supposed to, I think, get a copy of that, some version from the town attorney as well. I have not seen that yet, so it hasn't been posted, but it needs to be done soon because we want the
Yeah.
overlap with Mike being here and the transfer files.
more
So-
time the better.
Correct. So at this point, the RFP hasn't gone out yet.
All right.
All right. Anything else? I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Good evening.
Comfortably.
Okay.